What happens when a black woman helping an old lady gets targeted by a rowdy mob on Beale Street? You won't believe how her hidden strength turns their taunts into silence. Being black in Memphis, Tennessee, is like walking a tightrope over a pit of vipers. One wrong step, and you're done. My name's Layla Jones, and I've been balancing on that rope my whole life. But today, somebody decided to shake it. The morning sun was scorching, turning Beale Street into a skillet. I was parked in my beat-up pickup, sipping coffee from a cup that was more soggy cardboard than container. Across the street, at a joint slinging the best ribs in town, an old black woman was struggling with the door. Her hands shook, her grocery bag looked older than Moses, and folks just strolled by like she was a ghost. Typical Memphis: if you're black, old, and not dripping in designer, you're invisible. I tossed my coffee on the seat and hopped out. "Hold up, ma'am, let me help," I said, grabbing her bag. Her eyes lit up, warm and grateful, like I'd handed her $1,000,000. We walked into the joint, and I ordered her a plate of ribs on my dime. "Layla, honey, God bless you," she whispered, clutching my hand. I smiled, but I knew better. In this city, good deeds are like tossing pearls to pigs, they come with a price. As I helped her to a table, the door swung open, and in stormed a pack of clowns, 10 white guys in matching red caps, sporting some tacky car dealership logo. They were loud, obnoxious, acting like they owned the place. One of them, built like a linebacker with a beer gut and an eagle tattoo on his neck, locked eyes with me. "Yo, you the waitress? Where's our menu?" he barked, his buddies cackling like hyenas. My blood simmered. "I don't work here, pal." "Back off," I snapped, keeping my tone steady. But he didn't back off. He stepped closer, reeking of cheap cologne and cheaper beer. "Oh, we got a feisty one. Gonna teach me some manners," he sneered, and his crew roared. I could have decked him right there. My fists were itching, but I glanced at the old lady, nervously twisting her napkin. For her, I swallowed my rage. "Go sober up," I said, turning to leave. But he grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in. "Show her, Bobby," one of his goons yelled. Everything in me screamed to break his grip, but I yanked free and stared him down. "You just made a big mistake, Bobby," I said, low and sharp, every word a blade. He smirked, but his eyes flickered with doubt. His crew hooted, egging him on. I knew this was just the opening act. In Memphis, guys like Bobby don't stop until they feel like kings. But they had no idea who they were messing with. What happened next turned everything upside down. You won't want to miss how this played out. I stormed out of the rib joint, my heart pounding like a war drum. Beale Street was alive, street musicians belting out blues, tourists snapping pics, the air thick with the smell of barbecue and sweat. But to me, this city's always been a jungle, gorgeous, but deadly if you don't watch your step. I headed for my pickup, but before I could get there, I heard boots stomping behind me. I spun around. Bobby and his redcap posse were spilling out of the joint like roaches, their eyes locked on me. They wanted a show, and I was the star. "Hey, black girl, where you running off to?" Bobby hollered, his voice drowning out a sax player nearby. Passers-by turned to stare. Some snickered, others looked away, but nobody stepped in. Classic Memphis: when you're black and in trouble, you're on your own. I stopped, faced him, and crossed my arms. "What's your deal, Bobby? Your life so pathetic you gotta ruin mine to feel something?" I said, lacing every word with venom. His crew laughed, but I saw his jaw twitch. My words stung, and he didn't like it. He swaggered closer, the air between us crackling. "You think you're tough, huh? You don't belong here, sweetheart," he growled, jabbing a finger at me. His goons started circling, cutting off my path to the truck. One of them, a scrawny dude with greasy hair, spat on the ground. "Maybe she needs to apologize, Bob," he said. I shot him a look and smirked. "Apologize? For what? Breathing the same air as you clowns?" The crowd was growing now, tourists, locals, even a couple of waiters from a nearby bar, all gawking like we were filming a reality show. Their stares felt like needles in my skin. Being black in Memphis means you're always on display, with everyone waiting for you to crack or explode. But I wasn't giving them the satisfaction. "Listen up, Bobby," I said, dropping my voice so he had to lean in. "You can yell, you can strut, but you're just a sad little man using me to prop up your ego. And you know what? I almost feel sorry for you." His face turned as red as his cap. He lunged forward, and I braced myself, but then a skinny white guy in a radio station t-shirt jumped out of the crowd. "Yo, dude, chill." "She didn't do nothing," he said, stepping between us. I rolled my eyes. Great, a wannabe hero. Just what I needed. Bobby shoved him hard. "Get lost, hippie," he roared, and the kid stumbled. The crowd buzzed louder, and I knew things were spiraling. I took a step back, scanning the scene. My truck was 10 yards away, but between me and it was a wall of red caps and nosy onlookers. Bobby turned back to me, his eyes wild. "You think this is over?" "We're just getting started," he said, his crew closing in. My fists clenched, but deep down, I felt it. This wasn't just a drunk jerk mouthing off. This was the system, the one that's been trying to break me my whole life. And it made my blood boil. This was just the warm-up. What happened next made them wish they'd kept their mouths shut. Stick around to see how it went down. I was trapped in the middle of Beale Street, surrounded by a mob hungry for drama. Bobby and his goons were closing in, and the air felt thick, like molasses. My truck was so close, I could almost hear it calling, "Layla, get out of here." But run? That's not me. Being black in Memphis means you keep your head high, even when the world's trying to crush you. Bobby took another step, his fist clenched. "You think you can mouth off and walk away?" he snarled. His crew jeered, and the bald guy with a gold chain piped up, "Time to teach her where she belongs." I shot him a grin. "My place? Buddy, I'm standing right where I want to be. You're the one stuck in the Stone Age." The crowd gasped, and I felt the tension coil tighter, like a spring about to snap. Then, out of nowhere, a white woman, 40-something, clutching a fancy purse and looking like she'd just bitten a lemon, pushed through. "Can you stop this circus? Some of us are trying to enjoy our day," she huffed, glaring at me like I was the problem. I spun on her, incredulous. "Oh, my bad, lady. Sorry my existence is ruining your vibe. Should I vanish so you can keep pretending everything's peachy?" I said. Her face turned beet red, and Bobby's smirk widened, like I'd just handed him more ammo. I was trying to stay cool, but inside, I was a volcano. These people didn't just want to humiliate me, they wanted to erase me. Every sneer, every chuckle, was a punch, and my patience was fraying. I looked at Bobby. "Here's the kicker, man. You think you're running this show, but you're just a pawn. And I'm done playing your game." He blinked, caught off guard, but his goons shouted, "Shut her up, Bob." Then I saw movement, 2 cops, both white, pushing through the crowd. One had a mustache like a walrus, the other was young with cold eyes. "What's going on here?" Walrus barked. I groaned inwardly. Cops in Memphis are a gamble, and I wasn't feeling lucky. Bobby spun to them, hands spread like he was Jesus himself. "Officer," this woman was yelling, threatening us. "We just wanted to eat," he whined, his crew nodding like puppets. I opened my mouth, but cold eyes cut me off. "Calm down, ma'am. Name and story, now," he said, his tone screaming, "You're already guilty." My jaw tightened, rage bubbling. "Layla Jones. I helped an old lady in the rib joint, and this joker and his clowns decided it was open season on me," I said, forcing my voice to stay even, though I wanted to scream. The cops exchanged a look, and Bobby started mumbling about my attitude. The crowd went quiet, but their eyes burned into me. Some were filming, turning me into their personal zoo exhibit. I glared at the cops. You for real? You see this mess and you're still listening to this fool? Walrus stepped closer. Watch your tone, ma'am. We'll handle it, he said, but it felt like a kangaroo court. My truck was right there, keys in my pocket, but the path was blocked by cops, red caps, and gawkers waiting for me to slip. The pressure was crushing, but I wasn't breaking. Not today. This was the boiling point. What happened next was a game changer. Stay with it to see how I flipped the script. Beale Street was a coliseum, and I was the gladiator. Cops in front, Bobby and his goons to the side, and a crowd of vultures circling, phones out, ready to feast on my downfall. The air crackled with tension, and every nerve in my body was singing. Being black in Memphis means knowing one wrong move can paint you as the villain. But I was done playing nice. Walrus Cop spoke again. Ma'am, keep it up, and we're taking you downtown, he said, like I was the problem. I locked eyes with him. Downtown? You're kidding, right? This clown, I jerked my head at Bobby, and his posse are hunting me, and you want me to sing Kumbaya? My voice shook with fury, but I stood tall. Cold Eyes put a hand on his holster, and the crowd held its breath. Don't make this worse, he said, like I was the one escalating. Bobby grinned, smelling victory. See, officers? She's trouble. Told you, he crowed, his goons hooting. I stared him down, feeling something sharp and icy rise in me. I'm not just Layla Jones, the woman who helps old ladies and sips coffee in a pickup. I'm Layla Jones, who trained to hold a rifle steady while the world burned. They didn't know that. Not yet. I took a deep breath and faced the cops. Fine. You want to talk? Let's talk. But first, ask this fool why he thought it was okay to grab me and scream in my face. I pointed at Bobby, and his grin faltered. The crowd murmured, some whispering to each other. Walrus turned to Bobby. That true? You touched her? Bobby stammered, his crew shifting nervously. I, maybe brushed her arm, but she started it, he blurted. I laughed, bitter and loud. Brushed? Man, you nearly yanked my arm off, I said, and the crowd buzzed again. Cold Eyes frowned and stepped toward Bobby. Name, he demanded, and I felt the pressure ease, just a fraction. But I knew better, guys like Bobby don't quit. Sure enough, while the cops grilled him, the bald goon with the gold chain leaned in and hissed, "Think you're slick? This ain't over." I met his gaze. Oh, I know it's not. But you better hope you don't cross me again. Then a voice cut through the noise. I turned and saw the old lady from the rib joint, hobbling forward, leaning on her cane. Leave her alone, you animals, she shouted, her voice trembling with righteous anger. My throat tightened. This woman, who could barely carry her bag, was standing up for me like I was her own. I nodded at her. Thank you, ma'am, I said softly, but inside, I was on fire. No way was I letting these fools win. The cops started pushing the crowd back, and I saw my chance. I edged toward my truck, keeping Bobby and his crew in my sights. They glared at me, hungry for blood, but they had no clue what I was capable of. I reached the truck, slid behind the wheel, and fired it up. Before peeling out, I rolled down the window and yelled, "Hey, Bobby. This is Memphis, baby. You don't run this town." I hit the gas, leaving a cloud of dust and stunned faces in my wake. But I knew this wasn't the end. It was just the spark. This was only the prelude. What happened next made jaws drop. Keep reading to see how it all unfolded. I tore down the highway, Memphis fading in my rearview like a fever dream. The wind roared through the open windows, but it couldn't drown out the storm in my head. Being black in Memphis is like carrying a target on your back, and today, that target was glowing neon. Bobby and his goons thought they'd caged me, but they didn't know I'm Layla Jones, the woman whose hands were trained to steady a rifle when the world's screaming chaos. I veered onto a dirt road, kicking up gravel as I headed for an old warehouse on the city's edge. My sanctuary, rusted walls, overgrown weeds, and silence no cop or tourist could touch. I parked by the entrance and stepped out, the adrenaline still buzzing like a live wire. In the truck's bed was my black rucksack, worn but loyal. I unzipped it and pulled out my M24 sniper rifle, cold, heavy, a piece of my soul forged in steel. I checked the scope, the bolt, the mag perfect, as always. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a reminder of who I am when the world tries to tell me I'm nothing. I sat on the hood, rifle beside me, staring at the horizon. My mind replayed the day, Bobby's smug face, the bald guy's threats, the cop's cold stares. And the old lady, her voice like a battle cry. I was 16 when I first held a rifle, back in basic training, my drill sergeant barking, "Jones, you're a natural." I joined the army to escape Memphis, to prove I was more than what this city thought of me. I became a sniper, one of the best, because I learned to see what others miss, to wait, to breathe, to strike only when it counts. Today, I didn't need to fire a shot to know I could. I drove back to town as night fell, Beale Street glowing with neon and pulsing with blues. I parked in the shadows of an old building, my rucksack in the bed, rifle ready but tucked away. I wasn't here to start a war, just to end one. Through the crowd, I spotted those red caps outside a dive bar. Bobby and his crew, still strutting like they owned the world, laughing over beers. My blood boiled, but I stayed cool, my sniper's calm kicking in. I circled the bar, slipping through an alley to the back door where barbacks smoked. It was cracked open, and I slid inside, moving through a dim hallway that stank of beer and bleach. The roar of the bar filtered through, Bobby's laugh cutting like a blade. I stopped at a door to the main room, peering through the gap. There they were, Bobby waving a bottle, the bald guy ranting about people like me, his crew nodding like dogs. My pulse steadied, my training taking over. I saw everything, the way Bobby's eyes darted, nervous despite his bravado, the bald guy's hand twitching, like he was itching for a fight, a glint of metal under his jacket, a knife, maybe. My snipers, I caught it all. I didn't need my rifle for this. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Bobby's slurs, the bald guy's threats, their whole ugly truth laid bare. I caught every word, every sneer. Then I stepped back, heart steady, and uploaded the video to a local news group with a caption, "This is what it's like to be black on Beale Street. Share if you care." But I wasn't done. I remembered a buddy from my army days, Marcus, now a bouncer at a club down the street. I shot him a text, "Trouble at Rusty's bar. Red caps. Back me up." Minutes later, he was there, all 6'4" of him, with 2 other black guys from the neighborhood. They didn't ask questions, they just nodded. We stood outside the bar, not making a scene, just watching. The crowd started noticing, whispering, filming us now. The tide was turning. By morning, the video was everywhere, news channels, social media, even national outlets. Bobby and his crew were named, shamed, and fired from their car dealership jobs. The cops opened an investigation, and the old lady from the rib joint? She went on TV, telling the world how I'd helped her before the chaos started. Calls flooded in from our community, pastors, barbers, neighbors, saying, "Layla, we got your back." Marcus showed up at my place with a 6-pack and a grin. "You didn't need that rifle, sis. You shot them down with truth." I sat on my porch, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise. My rifle stayed in the truck, its job done by reminding me who I am. I didn't fire a shot, but I hit the mark. Being black in Memphis is a fight every day, but sometimes, you make the whole city see you. Share this story if you've ever stood tall against the mob. Being black in Memphis is a battle, but we're still here. You with us? Tell your story, we're listening.